The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. It floated in space around a neutron star, its walls made of transparent metal that showed the stars beyond. 73 species sat in curved rows that rose up like a great theater. Each species had its own section with special atmosphere and gravity. The chamber could hold 10,000 beings when full. Today it was full. The annual assembly always drew crowds. Representatives came from across the galaxy to discuss trade, settle disputes, and make new laws. It was supposed to be where civilized species worked together for peace. Deho stood at the speaker's platform in the center. He wore a simple gray suit, the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. His dark hair showed some gray at the temples. His face was calm, almost blank. He had practiced this expression for 30 years. He looked up at the rows of alien faces. Some had multiple eyes. Others had none. Some breathed methane. Others lived in water tanks. All of them were watching him with the same expression. Boredom mixed with mild contempt. Deho activated his data pad. The hologram above him showed charts and numbers. 30 years of Earth service to the Council. The trade agreements Earth had helped negotiate. The peace talks Earth had mediated. The humanitarian aid Earth had provided to struggling colonies. He spoke clearly and simply. He asked for elevated status within the Council. Earth had been a junior member for 3 decades. They had proven their dedication. They had followed every rule. They had contributed to galactic stability. They deserved recognition as a full member species. His speech lasted 10 minutes. He cited specific examples. He showed evidence. He made his case with facts and logic. When he finished, he looked up at the Council and waited. Ambassador Velthar rose from the senior council section. His insectoid body was covered in blue-green chitin. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been amusement. He had 6 legs and 4 arms. His compound eyes reflected the light in strange patterns. The ambassador spoke in a high-pitched voice that the translator converted to flat, emotionless words. But Deho could hear the mockery underneath. Earth's petition was denied. The reasons were simple. Humanity controlled only one star system. They had no colonies beyond their home. Their fleet was tiny. They had claimed no new territory in 30 years. They were talkers, not doers. They contributed nothing of real value. Other council members laughed. The sound came from 1,000 different throats in 1,000 different ways. Chirps and rumbles and hisses, but they all meant the same thing. Humans were weak. Humans were small. Humans should be grateful the council let them sit in the room at all. Councillor Thresh added his voice. He was amphibious, his bulbous body floating in a tank of pink fluid. His voice bubbled through his translator. He suggested maybe Earth did not deserve even junior membership. Perhaps they should be demoted to observer status. Or removed entirely. More laughter filled the chamber. Delegates competed to make the sharpest insult. Earth had no real military. Earth's technology was primitive. Earth's people were soft and weak. They had contributed nothing to galactic civilization except meaningless talk. Deho stood silent through it all. His face did not change. His hands did not clench. He simply stood there and let them laugh. He had expected this. He had prepared for this. Not hoped for it, but prepared. The mockery went on for 20 minutes. Various species took turns explaining why humanity was irrelevant. Some were almost kind about it. Most were cruel. All of them dismissed Earth as unworthy of serious consideration. Finally, the chamber grew quiet. They had run out of insults. They waited to see what the human would do. Would he argue? Would he plead? Would he leave in anger? Deho gathered his data pad and documents. He moved slowly, carefully. He powered down the hologram display. He tucked everything into his case with neat precision. Then he stood straight and looked up at Ambassador Velthar. He spoke 8 words. His voice was calm and clear. No anger, no disappointment, just simple statement of fact. Earth withdraws its petition. We wish you well. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. He did not wait for permission to leave. He did not bow. He did not ask if there was anything else. He simply walked away. The chamber fell completely silent. This had never happened before. Junior members did not just leave. They begged. They argued. They tried again and again for recognition. They did not walk away. Deho reached the massive doors. They opened automatically. He stepped through without looking back. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. His ship waited at the docking port. It was small compared to the massive vessels of the senior council species, but it was sleek and efficient. The crew snapped to attention when he boarded. The captain looked at him with a question in her eyes. Deho gave a small nod. She understood immediately. The ship undocked and turned away from the council station. Deho went to his quarters. He sat at his desk and opened a secure communication channel. He typed a short message using an encryption that only a handful of people could read. The message was simple. 2 words and a protocol designation. Orchid Protocol initiated. He sent the message to 5 different addresses scattered across Earth's government. Then he deleted the transmission logs and closed the channel. For the first time in hours, Deho allowed himself a small smile. It lasted only a moment. Then his face returned to its usual calm mask. He had work to do. Reports to file. Procedures to follow. The diplomatic mission was over, but something else was about to begin. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. Humanity had spent 30 years being polite. 30 years following rules. 30 years proving they could be good galactic citizens. And the council had spat in their face. That was fine. Earth had prepared for this possibility. They had hoped for better. They had worked for acceptance. But they had not counted on it. They had made other plans. The council thought humanity was weak because Earth had one system and no colonies. They thought humanity was small because the fleet was tiny. They thought humanity was irrelevant because humans never claimed new territory. They were wrong about all of it. They just did not know it yet. Deho pulled up a star chart on his personal display. It showed council space in blue. Earth's system was a tiny dot near the edge. But when he entered his security code, the map changed. Hundreds of red dots appeared across the map. Human outposts. Hidden colonies. Secret installations. The council had been looking at the wrong map for 30 years. They saw what humanity wanted them to see. A small, weak species that stayed in its corner and caused no trouble. The truth was different. Much different. Deho closed the display and stood. He had been humiliated today. He had stood in front of the galaxy's most powerful beings and been mocked like a child. It hurt. He would not pretend otherwise, but the pain would pass. And when it did, the council would learn something important. Silence could be louder than any speech, and walking away could be more powerful than any threat. Humanity was done asking for permission. 72 hours after Deho left the council chamber, the first reports started arriving. Human diplomats were leaving their posts, not just at the main council station, but everywhere. Embassy staff packed their belongings and departed without explanation. Trade representatives closed their offices. Cultural liaisons canceled their programs. At first, the council barely noticed. Humans came and went. They were not important enough to track closely. But then someone checked the Earth Embassy station orbiting the council headquarters. It was empty, completely abandoned. The lights were off. The docking bays were sealed. A simple message played on repeat for anyone who approached. This facility is no longer in operation. Please direct all inquiries to your local Earth consulate. Thank you. But there were no local Earth consulates anymore. They had all closed. Every single one across council space had shut down within the same 72-hour window. The coordination was perfect. The timing was precise. It was clearly planned. Ambassador Velthar sent an official message to Earth's government. It went unanswered. He sent another. Silence. He tried the emergency diplomatic channels that were supposed to be monitored at all times. Nothing. It was like humanity had simply vanished. On Earth, Secretary General Quan Ho stood before the Unified Government Assembly. The chamber was deep underground in Geneva. The representatives of every nation sat in curved rows, watching him carefully. They had voted on this decision months ago. Now it was happening. Quan Ho was in his 60s, his hair completely white. He had led Earth through 2 decades of growth and change. He spoke with the authority of someone who had seen humanity's transformation firsthand. The Council has rejected our petition for recognition. This outcome was anticipated. We now implement Orchid Protocol as planned. All diplomatic personnel are returning home. All Council-related activities are suspended indefinitely. Earth will focus on internal development and our own interests. The Assembly members nodded.
They had known this might happen.
They had prepared for it. Some looked satisfied. Others looked worried. None looked surprised. Ji-won sat in a secure briefing room 3 levels below the assembly chamber. She was the director of Earth's Deep Space Intelligence Division, a department that officially did not exist. Around the conference table sat military commanders, intelligence officers, and senior government officials. All of them had clearance levels that went beyond top secret. Ji-won activated the holographic display. Data filled the air above the table. Charts and maps and statistics that told a story the Council had never seen. For 15 years, we have been building infrastructure outside Council detection range. Our diplomatic mission was always secondary to this project. While we attended their meetings and followed their rules, we were also expanding in regions they considered worthless or inaccessible. She showed them the numbers. 247 colonies and systems the Council had never surveyed properly. Industrial centers producing materials and goods at rates that would surprise the galaxy's richest species. Shipyards constructing vessels with technology Earth had developed independently. The Council believes we are small because we have one system. They are correct that our home system contains 1 star. They are incorrect about everything else. One of the military commanders spoke up. How long until they discover what we have built? Ji-won smiled slightly. They will discover it when they go looking. And they will go looking because we have gone silent. Their curiosity will lead them to the truth. By then it will not matter. We will be too established to uproot. Back at the Council headquarters, the silence from Earth was causing concern. Councillor Thresh called an emergency session. The senior members gathered in a private chamber. No recording devices were allowed. This was for discussion, not documentation. Thresh floated in his tank, his voice bubbling through the translator. The humans have withdrawn completely. All communication channels are closed. Their embassy is abandoned. This is unprecedented. Ambassador Velthar waved a claw dismissively. They are sulking, let them. They contribute nothing of value. We are better off without their constant requests and complaints. But Observer Kern, a smaller species that rarely spoke in council sessions, raised a concern. His people were traders and explorers. They noticed things others missed. Should we not investigate? They left very suddenly, very efficiently. That suggests planning, not emotional reaction. The other council members debated. Some agreed with Velthar. Good riddance to the weak species. Others sided with Kern. The timing was suspicious. The coordination was too perfect. Something felt wrong. In the end, they decided to send a formal inquiry. A strongly worded message demanding explanation. It was sent through every channel they could think of. It reached Earth's communication relays and was received by automated systems. The automated systems acknowledged receipt. Then they did nothing else. No human replied. No official response was issued. The message simply vanished into Earth's bureaucracy like a stone dropping into deep water. 3 months passed. Trade ships still docked at Earth's orbital stations. The automated systems were extremely efficient. Cargo was loaded and unloaded. Payments were processed. Quality standards were maintained. But no human officials greeted the visiting traders. No diplomats came to make small talk. Just machines and computers handling everything with cold precision. Some alien merchants found it unsettling. They were used to negotiating with humans face to face. The humans had always been friendly, eager to build relationships. Now there was just a screen with text instructions and automated voices. Then the rumors started. A trader captain from a species that explored the outer regions reported something strange. He had been surveying a system the council charts listed as empty, resource poor, not worth the fuel to visit, but it was not empty. There was a massive station there, human construction. It looked new but complete, and it was huge, bigger than anything Earth was supposed to be capable of building. The captain reported this to the council. They dismissed it as a mistake. Probably an old station from before humanity joined the council, or perhaps a private venture. Nothing significant. Then more reports came in. Different traders, different systems, all supposedly empty or worthless, all containing human installations, stations, mining operations, even what looked like colonies on planets the council had declared uninhabitable. Observer Kern collected these reports. He plotted them on a star chart. The pattern made him uneasy. The humans were not in empty space randomly. They had chosen their locations carefully, systems that were hard to reach, regions the council never patrolled, areas considered too difficult or too poor to bother with. And humanity was in all of them. Building, growing, expanding. Kern brought his findings to the senior council. He laid out the evidence, the locations, the construction, the timeline. It all pointed to one conclusion. Humanity had been building this network for years, maybe decades. While they sat in council meetings and smiled and nodded, they had been working in secret. Velthar stared at the star chart. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. How many installations? Kieran updated the chart. Red dots appeared across the display. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. The number kept growing as his system processed all the reports. We have confirmed sightings of 47 stations and colonies. Unconfirmed reports suggest there may be 3 times that number. Possibly more. The humans have been very thorough about avoiding our standard patrol routes. The council chamber fell silent. They had called humanity weak. They had mocked Earth for having only one system. They had dismissed humans as irrelevant. They had been completely wrong. Somewhere in the depths of space, Admiral Taesung stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him in the darkness, 300 warships held position in perfect formation. The silent fleet, built in secret, tested in isolation, ready for whatever came next. His communication officer looked at him. "Sir, we are receiving the final withdrawal confirmations. All diplomatic personnel have returned home. All council operations have ceased." Taesung nodded once. "Then we proceed to Phase 2. Maintain silence protocols. Let them wonder what we are doing. Let them realize their mistake." The officer smiled. "Yes, sir. The fleet powered down all non-essential systems. They disappeared from sensors. 300 warships vanished into the black like ghosts. Waiting, watching, silent." 6 months after humanity went silent, Observer Kieran volunteered to lead a reconnaissance mission. The council wanted answers. They needed to know what Earth was really doing out there in those supposedly empty systems. Kern's species were natural explorers, and he was curious. Professionally curious and personally concerned. His ship was small and fast, designed for long-range surveys. He brought a crew of specialists, sensor technicians, data analysts, military observers. They left council space quietly and headed toward the first reported human installation. The system was called Ross 128 in human designation. The council charts listed it as marginal, 1 small red dwarf star, 3 rocky planets too hot or too cold for most species, mineral content low, no gas giants for fuel, not worth the effort to colonize. But when they arrived, Kern's sensors lit up immediately. There was a station in orbit around the second planet. It was massive. The structure was at least 3 kilometers across. Solar panels covered its surface like scales on a fish. Docking ports dotted the hull. Ships came and went in steady streams. Kern's sensor officer stared at his displays. "Sir, that station is putting out power readings equivalent to a council starbase. And those ships are hauling refined materials. This is a major industrial hub." Kieran recorded everything. He kept his ship at maximum sensor range. He did not want to provoke any response. After 3 hours of observation, he ordered his crew to move to the next system on their list. The pattern repeated itself. System after system that should have been empty was full of human activity. Stations, mining platforms, agricultural colonies on worlds the council had dismissed as too harsh. Each installation looked permanent and well-established. This was not recent construction. These places had been here for years. On the 5th day, they found something that made Kern's blood run cold. It was another station larger than the others. But what caught his attention were the energy signatures. His sensors detected quantum fluctuations that should not exist in normal space. "What is that?" Kern asked his chief scientist. The scientist studied the readings carefully. She ran 3 different analysis programs. Finally, she looked up with disbelief in her eyes. "It appears to be a quantum gate. But not like any gate we use. This is far more advanced. The power requirements alone suggest they can move ships much faster than our jump drives." Kern leaned forward. "Show me the gate network." The scientist worked for an hour, cross-referencing all their sensor data. Slowly, a picture emerged. The humans had built gates connecting their hidden systems. They could move ships and materials across vast distances almost instantly. That was how they had built so much so fast. They were not limited by traditional FTL travel. They had developed something revolutionary. The council uses jump drives that require days or weeks to cross between systems. The humans apparently just stepped through doors. No wonder they could maintain such a spread-out empire. Distance meant nothing to them. Kern continued his survey. After 3 weeks, he stopped counting individual installations. There were too many. His best estimate was 200 confirmed sites, possibly twice that number in regions he could not reach safely. The human presence was everywhere the council was not looking. On the 24th day, Kieran's sensors detected something new. Ships. Lots of them. Military vessels by their configuration and power signatures. They were conducting what looked like training exercises in deep space, far from any inhabited system. Kern ordered his crew to maximum stealth. They watched from 5 light hours away, passive sensors only. What they saw made them understand why humanity had been so quiet for so long. The human fleet was enormous. Hundreds of warships in perfect formation. They moved with precision that spoke of long practice. They ran combat drills. They tested weapons on target drones. They practiced coordinated jumps through their quantum gates. Kern's military observer was a veteran of council enforcement operations. He had seen combat. He knew what professional military forces looked like. He watched the human exercises with growing respect and worry. Sir, those ships are larger than our cruisers. Their weapons have longer effective range than anything in the council arsenal. Their shield strength is at least 40% higher than ours. And they move faster. Much faster. How many ships? Kern asked. The observer ran a count. At least 300 in this group. But sir, this appears to be only one fleet. The formation structure suggests multiple fleet groups operating independently. There could be thousands of ships total. Kern felt a chill run through him. The council had hundreds of species contributing ships to their combined fleet. Thousands of vessels total, but spread across the entire galaxy. And most of them were old designs maintained barely well enough to function. Budget concerns limited military spending. Most council members preferred to spend resources on other things. But humanity had built a modern, powerful fleet in secret. They had trained it to high standards. They had equipped it with technology the council did not possess. And they had done all of this while sitting politely in council meetings and never making demands or threats. Kieran ordered his ship to leave the area. They had seen enough. More than enough. He needed to report this immediately. As they prepared to jump back to council space, a human ship appeared on their sensors. It had come from nowhere. No warning. Just suddenly there. The ship was large, clearly military. It positioned itself between Kern's vessel and the exit vector. Kern's communication system activated. A voice spoke in perfect council standard language. The tone was polite but firm. Observer Kern, your vessel has been conducting surveillance of human operations. We do not consider this a hostile act. You are free to return to council space with your data. However, we ask that you relay a message to your leadership. Kern responded carefully. I am listening, the human voice continued. Humanity has withdrawn from council politics. We are not seeking conflict, but we will not tolerate interference with our territories or operations. We suggest the council respect our boundaries as we will respect theirs. This is not a threat. It is a statement of policy. Before Kern could reply, the human ship disappeared. One moment it was there. The next it was gone. No jump signature, no energy trail, just gone. Another demonstration of technology the council did not understand. Kieran set course for home. His crew was silent. They had all heard the message. They had all seen what humanity had built. The implications were staggering. When they reached council space, Kern went directly to the senior council. He presented his findings in a closed session. He showed them recordings of the stations, the colonies, the quantum gates, the fleet. The council chamber was dead silent when he finished. Ambassador Velthar sat motionless, his mandibles frozen mid-click. Councillor Thresh's tank bubbled quietly in the stillness. No one spoke for a long minute. Finally, one of the elder representatives found his voice. How long have they been building this? Kern checked his data. Based on construction styles and technology progression, at least 15 years, possibly longer. They began this project shortly after joining the council. While we debated trade agreements and territorial disputes, humanity was laying the foundation for an empire. Velthar stood slowly. His voice was tight with suppressed emotion. They made fools of us. They sat in our chambers and pretended to be weak. They nodded and smiled and asked for our approval. And all along they were preparing to stand independent. Kern corrected him gently. They did not pretend to be weak. We assumed they were weak because they were small and quiet. We never bothered to check if our assumptions were correct. That failure is ours, not theirs. The council adjourned in disorder. The representatives scattered to consult with their home governments. Everyone had the same questions. What did humanity want? Would they attack? Could they be negotiated with? And most importantly, how had the galaxy's supposed experts on every species completely missed this? Humanity did not answer any of those questions. They maintained their silence. No threats, no demands, no explanations. Just quiet activity in their own territories and an automated message at their borders. You are entering human space. Please respect our boundaries. Safe travels, short, simple, polite, and absolutely firm. 8 months after Earth went silent, the Council made its decision. They would send an official delegation to confront humanity. Not a diplomatic inquiry, not a polite request for discussion, a demand for answers and compliance. Councillor Thresh led the delegation. He brought 20 representatives from various Council species. They traveled in a show of force fleet, 30 warships, the largest vessels the Council could muster on short notice. The message was clear. The Council remained the dominant power. Humanity would explain itself or face consequences. The fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Automated defense stations tracked them immediately. Warning messages appeared on every ship's communication system. The text was simple and professional. You are entering Earth's sovereign territory. State your purpose and destination. Maintain current course and speed. Any deviation will be considered a hostile act. Thresh bristled at being ordered around in what he still considered Council space. But he followed the instructions. The fleet moved slowly toward Earth at the designated speed. Human defense satellites watched every meter of their progress. They were directed to Luna, Earth's moon. A conference facility waited there, built specifically for meetings with alien visitors. The delegation landed and was processed through security checkpoints. Everything was automated: scanners, verification systems, environmental controls. No humans appeared to greet them. They were shown to a conference room. It was large and comfortable. The lighting was adjusted for each species' visual spectrum. The atmosphere was properly balanced for everyone's needs. Refreshments waited on a side table. But still no humans. They waited for 3 hours. Some of the delegates grew angry. Others became nervous. This was a calculated insult. The Council did not wait for anyone. They were the ones who made others wait. Finally, the door opened. A single human woman entered. She was in her late 30s, dressed in a simple gray uniform. Her hair was pulled back in a practical style. She carried a datapad and nothing else. No entourage, no guards, just her. She introduced herself as Ji-Wan, Director of Earth's External Relations Division. She did not apologize for the delay. She did not explain it. She simply sat down at the table and looked at the delegation calmly. Councillor Thresh immediately launched into his prepared speech. He demanded explanation for humanity's unauthorized territorial expansion. He cited Council regulations about colonization. He listed the violations Earth had committed. He made it clear that the Council expected immediate compliance and registration of all human territories under Council oversight. Ji-Wan listened without interrupting. When Thresh finished, she was silent for a moment. Then she spoke in a calm, clear voice. Councillor Thresh, I have reviewed the regulations you mentioned. Every human installation is located in unclaimed space outside Council jurisdiction. We have violated no treaties. We have broken no laws. The Council has no legal authority over territories we have developed in regions you declared worthless. Thresh's tank bubbled angrily. Legal technicalities do not change reality. You expanded behind our backs. You hid your activities deliberately. You broke the spirit of Council cooperation even if you followed the letter of the law. Ji-Wan's expression did not change. We followed the exact same approach many Council species used when they first joined. We explored unclaimed regions. We built where no one else wanted to be. The only difference is that we were more efficient about it. One of the other delegates spoke up. You must return to the Council. Submit your territories for proper registration. Accept Council oversight of your expansion. This is not optional. Ji-Wan shook her head slightly. I am afraid that will not be possible. Earth has withdrawn from Council membership. We are no longer interested in participating in your organization. We will maintain our independence. The room erupted. Multiple delegates spoke at once. Their translators struggled to keep up. Threats were made. Sanctions were mentioned. Military action was implied. Jiwon waited for the noise to die down. Then she spoke again, her tone still perfectly professional but with an edge underneath. I would suggest the Council consider very carefully whether you want humanity as an adversary. We have no desire for conflict. But we will defend our territories and our sovereignty. You have seen some of what we have built. You know we have the capability to back up our words. Thresh leaned forward in his tank. You threaten us? One species against the entire Council? Jiwon met his gaze without flinching. I make no threats. I state facts. Earth is no longer dependent on Council approval or protection. We have our own resources, our own technology, our own defenses. We prefer peace and mutual respect, but we are prepared for other outcomes if necessary. She activated her data pad. The holographic display above the table came to life. Data filled the space. Population numbers, industrial output, military capabilities, resource networks, all of it documented and verified. 247 colonies across 83 systems. Total human population now exceeds 50 billion. Industrial production rivals your top 5 member species combined. Our quantum gate network can move fleets across vast distances in minutes. Our military consists of modern vessels with technology advantages in multiple categories. The delegates stared at the data. Some looked shocked. Others looked skeptical. All of them looked worried. Jiwon pulled up another file. She played audio recordings from the Council session 8 months earlier. The delegation heard their own voices mocking Earth, laughing at humanity's petition, dismissing humans as weak and irrelevant. She let the recordings play for several minutes. Then she stopped them and looked around the table. The Council had its chance to accept us as equals. You chose ridicule instead. That is your right, just as it is our right to pursue our own path without Council interference. One of the younger delegates, from a species that had always treated humans with basic courtesy, spoke quietly. What do you want from us? Jiwon looked at him with something like approval. That is the correct question. What we want is simple: mutual non-aggression and respect for territorial boundaries. We will not interfere with Council space or operations. We ask the same courtesy in return. Trade can continue on fair terms. Communication channels can remain open, but Earth is no longer subject to Council authority. And if we refuse? Thresh demanded. Jiwon stood up. She gathered her data pad. Then we will defend ourselves, and you will learn that humanity's patience should not have been mistaken for weakness. This meeting is concluded. You have 7 days to remove your fleet from Earth's system. After that, we will consider your presence a violation of our sovereignty and respond accordingly. She walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back one last time. The proposal I outlined is not negotiable. It is not a starting position for bargaining. It is the only offer you will receive. Accept it or reject it, but understand that either way, Earth will not return to being your subordinate species. That era ended the moment Ambassador Daeho walked out of your council chamber. Then she was gone. The door closed behind her. The delegates sat in silence. They had come to demand answers and compliance. Instead, they had been given an ultimatum. Thresh ordered the fleet to leave immediately. He was not going to wait 7 days to find out if the humans were bluffing about defending their system. His military advisors had analyzed the defense stations they had passed on the way in. The humans were not bluffing about anything. The return journey to Council space was quiet. No one wanted to discuss what had just happened. They had been outmaneuvered completely. Humanity had built an empire while the Council laughed at them. And now Earth was offering peace from a position of strength, not weakness. Thresh prepared his report for the full Council. He knew many would want to reject Earth's proposal. Pride and anger would demand a military response. But he also knew what his own military specialists had told him. A war with humanity would be costly, difficult, and uncertain. The days when the Council could simply crush upstart species were over. Humanity had changed the game, and the Council had no one to blame but themselves. Back on Luna, Jiwon stood at an observation window overlooking Earth. The blue planet hung in the black sky like a jewel. She allowed herself a small smile. The meeting had gone exactly as predicted. Thresh was a bully, but he was not stupid. He would report honestly. The Council would have to face reality. Her communicator chimed. She answered it. Secretary General Quan Ho appeared on the screen. How did they take it? He asked. Yuan's smile widened slightly. About as well as we expected. They are angry and frightened. But they are also beginning to understand. We are not the species they thought we were. Quan Ho nodded. Good. Now we wait and see if they are wise enough to accept peace, or foolish enough to choose war. Either way, Ji-Wan replied, humanity will endure. We always have. 1 year after Earth withdrew from the Council, the galaxy looked different. Not physically. The stars had not moved. The planets still orbited their suns. But the political map had been redrawn in ways no one had predicted. The Council debated for weeks after Thresh returned with his report. The chamber was divided. Ambassador Velthar led the hardline faction. They demanded military action. Humanity had defied Council authority. That could not be tolerated. Other species might follow Earth's example. The entire Council system could collapse if they showed weakness. But Observer Kern spoke for the moderate faction. He argued for accepting Earth's proposal. A war would cost thousands of lives and massive resources, and the outcome was uncertain at best. The humans had proven they were technologically advanced and strategically prepared. Better to establish clear boundaries than risk everything on pride. The debates grew heated. Some species threatened to leave the Council if military action was not taken. Others promised to withdraw support if war was declared. The unity that had held the Council together for centuries was fracturing. While the Council argued, humanity continued building. New colonies appeared in distant systems. The Quantum Gate network expanded. Trade with non-Council species increased. Earth was not waiting for permission. They were simply doing what they wanted in their own territories. Finally, the hardliners forced a decision. A battle group would be sent to test human defenses. Not a full invasion force. Just enough ships to probe Earth's military capabilities and demonstrate Council resolve. If the humans backed down, negotiations could proceed from strength. If they fought, the Council would know what they faced. The battle group consisted of 47 warships, the best the Council could field. They were led by a veteran admiral, from a species that had fought in every Council military action for the past 2 centuries. He was experienced, professional, and confident. The target was a human colony on the edge of their territory, a small world with maybe 1 million inhabitants, lightly defended according to Council intelligence. The plan was simple. Jump in, demonstrate overwhelming force, demand the colony submit to Council inspection, then leave. A show of strength without actual combat. The battle group jumped to the target system. They emerged from FTL in standard formation, sensors activated, weapons powered but not targeting. They broadcast the standard message demanding compliance, and Admiral Tae-Sung's silent fleet was waiting for them. The human ships appeared on sensors all at once. They had been there the whole time, running in stealth mode. Now they revealed themselves. Over 100 warships in perfect formation, arranged in a defensive screen between the Council fleet and the colony. The Council admiral stared at his displays. His tactical officer gave him the analysis quickly. The human ships were larger. Their power signatures were stronger. They had superior positioning, and they outnumbered the Council force more than 2 to 1. No shots were fired. No threats were issued. The human fleet simply held position, silent, ready, waiting. The Council admiral knew a professional military when he saw one. These were not colonists playing soldier. This was a real fleet with real capability. He could order an attack. His ships would fight bravely, but the battle would be a slaughter. His force would be destroyed and the colony would remain untouched. He opened a channel to the human flagship. A voice responded immediately. Admiral Tae-Sung speaking. You are in violation of human territorial sovereignty. I strongly recommend you withdraw. The Council admiral considered his options. He had been sent to demonstrate strength. Instead, he had found himself outmaneuvered and outgunned. Pride demanded he do something. Wisdom suggested retreat. He chose wisdom. The battle group withdrew to the system edge and held position. For 3 days, the standoff continued. The human fleet never moved, never powered down, never showed any sign of backing away. During those 3 days, the Council admiral's analysts studied the human ships constantly. They measured energy outputs. They analyzed hull configurations. They ran combat simulations. The conclusions were unanimous and troubling. The human vessels had technological advantages in weapons range, shield strength, and maneuverability. Their quantum gate system meant they could bring reinforcements from across their territory in minutes. A war against Earth would require committing the entire Council fleet. Even then, victory was not guaranteed. Losses would be catastrophic. The Council Admiral sent his report back to headquarters. He recommended accepting Earth's proposal for non-aggression. His military assessment was clear. Humanity could not be intimidated. They could not be easily defeated. The Council had two choices: peace as equals, or a war that might destroy both sides. The battle group jumped back to Council space. The human fleet remained on station for another week. Then they dispersed, disappearing into the depths of space as silently as they had appeared. 3 days after the battle group returned, the Council held an emergency session. Ambassador Velthar tried to rally support for continued resistance. But most species had read the military reports. The cost was too high, the risks were too great, and increasingly, representatives were asking the question no one wanted to answer. Why were they fighting this at all? Earth had not attacked anyone. They had not seized Council territory. They had not threatened other species. They had simply built their own civilization in places the Council never wanted. The only thing humanity had done wrong was succeed without asking permission first. The vote was surprisingly lopsided. 58 species voted to accept Earth's non-aggression proposal. 12 voted against. 3 abstained. The measure passed easily. Velthar resigned his position the next day. He had lost credibility and influence. The species that had followed his hardline stance found themselves isolated. New leadership emerged in the Council. Pragmatists who understood the galaxy had changed. Trade between human and Council space began cautiously. Earth sold resources and certain technologies. They proved to be fair dealers. Prices were reasonable. Quality was excellent. Delivery was reliable. Some species that had mocked humanity a year earlier now competed for human trade contracts. The formal non-aggression treaty was signed 6 months after the standoff. Representatives from both sides met in neutral space. The ceremony was brief and professional. No grand speeches, no promises of eternal friendship. Just a practical agreement between equals. Secretary General Quan Ho gave a rare public address after the treaty was finalized. He spoke from Earth. His message broadcast across human space. His words were simple and direct. Humanity never wanted conflict. We sought recognition through diplomacy for 30 years. When words failed, we chose to prove ourselves through achievement. We built, we grew. We prepared, not to threaten others, but to stand independent. Today we have peace not because we begged for it, but because we earned the respect necessary to maintain it. 3 months after the treaty, Deho returned to the Council chamber. Not as a petitioner, not as a junior member seeking approval, as ambassador from an independent human government. He walked to the same platform where he had been humiliated a year earlier. The chamber was full again, but this time no one laughed. No one mocked. They watched him with careful attention and new respect. Deho's statement was brief. Humanity is open to dialogue as equals. We will cooperate where interests align. We will respect Council sovereignty as we expect ours to be respected. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you for your attention. He left the platform. The Council members sat in silence. Some felt shame for how they had treated Earth before. Others felt resentment at being outmaneuvered. But all of them understood the message. Humanity was here to stay, not as subordinates, as equals. Observer Kern watched Deho leave. He felt a strange emotion, relief mixed with admiration. The humans had taught the Council a valuable lesson. Assumptions were dangerous. Arrogance was foolish. Respect had to be earned, but it could not be demanded from those strong enough to stand alone. Later, Kieran wrote a private report for his government. He analyzed what had happened over the past year, how humanity had turned mockery into motivation, how they had used silence as a weapon, how they had prepared so thoroughly that when the moment came they held all the advantages. His conclusion was simple. The Council had not lost a war with humanity. They had lost before the war could even start. Earth had won through patience, planning, and the quiet accumulation of power. By the time the Council realized their mistake, it was too late to do anything but accept reality. On the far edge of human space, Chief Engineer Hyarin stood in the control room of a new quantum gate station. This was the 307th gate in the network. It connected to a system no one had explored before. A system full of resources and potential. She ran the final system checks. Everything was optimal. She activated the gate. Space folded in on itself. A portal opened to somewhere new. Her assistant looked at her with excitement. Where next? Hiran smiled. She pulled up a star chart showing unexplored regions. There were thousands of systems out there. Waiting. Empty. Ready for humanity's next step. Everywhere, she replied. We go everywhere, the gate hummed with power. Ships began moving through. Colony vessels. Survey craft. Construction platforms. Humanity was expanding again. Not asking permission. Not seeking approval.